Wealth doesn't ask how old you are. It doesn't care if you're 18 or 80. Wealth has no age limit. The only limit is hesitation. Every day you wait is a day you could have been growing. Some people rise in their 20s, some in their 50s, and some even beyond 60. But the moment you start comparing your journey to theirs, you begin destroying your own. Success has its own timing. Some get it early, some get it late. But what truly matters is your hard work, your dedication, and your faith. The rest is in God's hands. Wealth is not about money alone. Wealth is first an idea, then a habit, and only afterward does it become a reality you can hold in your hands. Wealth is health. Wealth is knowledge. Wealth is peace of mind. And yes, wealth is financial freedom, but it is the last fruit on a tree that takes years of planting, watering, and tending before it can bear. That tree does not ask the planter's age. It only asks for patience, care, and persistence. Some will say, "I'm too young to think of wealth," as though time will pause and wait for them. Others will say, "I'm too old to begin now," as if the sun has stopped shining on their horizon. Both are wrong. History and life itself prove them wrong. For wealth does not operate on the calendar of youth or the limitations of age. It operates on the principles of sowing and reaping, and anyone who dares to sow, no matter when, will in due time reap. The tragedy is not in starting late. The tragedy is in never starting at all. Too many people let the years slip away, waiting for the perfect time, as though fortune rings a bell when the moment arrives. But fortune has no bell. It rewards only those who take the step, today, now, without waiting for youth to return or for every star to align. Think of the wasted potential buried in cemeteries across the world. Men and women who could have built businesses, written books, shared ideas, created prosperity, but who instead kept saying, "It's too early," or "It's too late." And while they hesitated, time marched forward, unbothered, unstoppable, and indifferent to their excuses. If you are alive, you are not too late. If you are breathing, you are not too old. If you are thinking, dreaming, and capable of effort, then the door of wealth is still open to you. What closes the door is not age, but inaction. What shuts it forever is not the number of candles on your birthday cake, but the refusal to strike the match of determination. This is why the wise say, "Plant the seed today. Do not wait for spring. Do not wait for the rain. Do not wait until the field looks ready. Start where you are, with what you have, and let time, God, and persistence do the rest." The wealth you seek is not only for you. It is for those you love, for the generations that come after you, for the causes that depend on strong men and women who dared to do more with their lives. Wealth is not selfish when earned with integrity. It becomes a tool, a blessing, and a light in the hands of one who remembers its true purpose. So whether you are 18 and standing at the threshold of adulthood, or 80 and wondering if there is still time, the answer is yes. Wealth has no age limit. The real question is not, can I? The real question is, will I begin today? Because today is the only time you have. Yesterday is gone. Tomorrow is a promise not yet delivered. Today is the field. Today is the seed. Today is the work. And those who honor today will one day look back in gratitude for the wealth of body, mind, and spirit that they had the courage to build. Why true wealth extends beyond money. When most people hear the word wealth, their minds immediately picture coins, notes, property, and possessions. But wealth is not confined to the contents of a bank account. A man may own vast estates and yet live in poverty of the soul. Another may possess little in material goods but be rich in joy, love, and peace. True wealth is far greater than money. It is the full measure of life's blessings, both seen and unseen. Consider this. What good is a fortune without health to enjoy it? What comfort is gold without the warmth of family and loved ones to share it with? What use is abundance without the wisdom to guide it, or without the faith that gives it purpose? Wealth takes many forms. It is found in the laughter of children, the companionship of a loyal friend, the embrace of a loving spouse, and the gentle strength of parents who shaped you. It is present in a clear conscience, a sound body, and a spirit at peace with God. Money, of course, has its place. It is a tool, and like any tool it can build or destroy, depending upon the hand that wields it. It can provide comfort, security, and opportunity. It can relieve burdens and open doors. But money alone is not the summit. It is only one path toward a greater, richer life. When guided by wisdom, it becomes a servant. When worshipped, it becomes a master. The richest life, then, is not measured by the weight of one's purse, but by the fullness of one's heart. A man who balances material gain with spiritual growth, who honors his family while pursuing his ambitions, who guards his health as carefully as his fortune, is a man truly wealthy. So, as you seek wealth, let it be complete. Strive not only to fill your pockets, but also your mind with wisdom, your spirit with faith, and your home with love. For in the end, the greatest treasure is not what you keep, but what you become and what you give to those entrusted to your care. The foundation of true wealth, planting seeds at any stage of life. Wealth, like a great oak, begins with the planting of a seed. That seed may be planted in youth, or it may be planted in later years. The soil does not discriminate, the sun does not choose favorites, and the rain does not ask your age before it nourishes what you have planted. The principle is simple. If you sow, you reap. If you do not sow, there is nothing to reap. Too many people convince themselves that they are too late. They say, if only I had started 10 years ago, I'd be ahead. Yet what they fail to see is that 10 years from today, they will either wish they had started now, or be grateful they did. The ground of life is always ready. It is only the planter who hesitates. The truth is, wealth begins with the decision to begin. It begins when you set aside excuses, however reasonable they may sound, and choose to take action today. Whether it is building a business, developing a skill, saving your first dollar, or investing in knowledge, the act of beginning is itself the cornerstone. It does not matter where you are in life. What matters is that you start turning effort into progress and progress into prosperity. The richest gardens of the world were once barren fields. Your life, too, can transform if you are willing to plant the seeds, water them with persistence, and wait for them to grow. Why hesitation costs more than failure? Failure has been given too much blame, while hesitation has been given far too much forgiveness. A man who tries and fails has gained something of immeasurable value. He has learned. He has tested himself against reality, strengthened his resilience, and uncovered paths he could not have seen while standing still. Every failure is a form of tuition paid to the school of life, and though the cost may feel heavy, the lessons remain with him forever. But the man who hesitates gains nothing. He trades his days for doubt, his energy for fear, and his opportunities for regret. He loses the one resource that can never be replaced: time. He loses the chance to prove his strength, to sharpen his character, and most dangerously of all, he loses confidence in his own ability to act. It is not failure that destroys the great majority of dreams. It is hesitation, the endless waiting for the perfect moment. The man who hesitates convinces himself that tomorrow will be safer, that next week will be clearer, that next year will be the time to begin. But while he waits, time marches forward with no mercy. Days quietly become months, months roll into years, and soon he awakens to the cold truth. The dream he once cherished has withered in silence, never even given the dignity of a genuine attempt. Consider this: failure makes noise. It shouts its lessons, demands attention, and forces growth. But hesitation? Hesitation works in silence. It creeps into the corners of a man's life, stealing little pieces at a time, until he looks back and wonders where his strength, his passion, his youth have gone. Failure leaves scars that become wisdom. Hesitation leaves nothing but emptiness. When it comes to building wealth, whether financial, spiritual, or intellectual, the greatest deception is waiting for the right time. There is no right time. There is only time itself, and it slips away regardless of whether you act or not. The man who begins today, even imperfectly, is far ahead of the man who has been planning perfectly for 10 years without moving a step. Hesitation is the most expensive mistake a man can make, because it costs him more than money. It costs him his chance. And unlike failure, hesitation leaves him with nothing to show for the years that have slipped through his fingers. The lesson is simple. Begin where you are, with what you have, and trust that the road will reveal itself as you walk. The price of hesitation is a lifetime of regret, but the reward of action, even if it leads to failure, is growth, courage, and the possibility of greatness. The seasons of wealth, understanding growth over time. Every life, like nature itself, passes through seasons. There is a season for planting, a season for tending, a season for harvesting, and even a season for resting. Wealth is no different. The man who expects to reap in spring is bound to be disappointed, and the one who plants in autumn, when the ground is already hard, learns the pain of missed opportunities. No matter the season of your life, the soil is never barren forever. If you are young, you may plant with abundance, knowing that time is your ally. If you are in middle age, you plant with wisdom, understanding the value of each seed. And if you are older, you plant with urgency, aware that what you sow must be chosen with care, yet capable of bearing fruit nonetheless. The key is not to confuse the seasons. Too many give up because their harvest does not appear overnight. Yet the farmer does not abandon his crop in despair when the seed does not sprout immediately. He knows it must lie hidden in the soil, unseen, while the forces of life do their quiet work. The man who builds wealth must adopt the same patience. Your life will give you seasons of progress, seasons of waiting, and seasons of reward. Embrace each of them, for they are all part of the cycle. The lesson is eternal. Wealth, like the harvest, belongs to those who recognize the season they are in and work faithfully within it. Turning effort into assets. How small steps multiply. Too often, people believe that wealth is built in great leaps. They imagine a windfall, a sudden stroke of fortune, or a single daring act that changes everything. But true wealth rarely arrives that way. Instead, it is built as the pyramids were built, stone by stone, day after day, by steady, deliberate effort. The smallest effort, when repeated, becomes a habit. That habit over time becomes a source of strength. And that strength, applied consistently, becomes an asset. Consider the man who saves a modest sum each week. At first it seems insignificant, hardly worth the sacrifice. Yet as the weeks turn to months, and the months to years, what once seemed small becomes substantial. The same is true of a skill, of a trade, of a business, or of a reputation. What makes the difference is not the size of each step, but the persistence of taking them. Wealth is not a single event. It is the accumulation of countless decisions, countless actions, and countless days of steady discipline. Do not despise small beginnings. A trickle becomes a stream, and a stream becomes a river. The fortune you seek will not appear overnight, but it will surely appear if you are willing to keep adding, keep building, and keep moving forward. For every step taken in the direction of your goals, no matter how small, is another brick laid in the foundation of your future. Breaking free from excuses of age and circumstance. Excuses are the chains that keep men and women bound to mediocrity. Some say, "I am too young, I lack experience." Others sigh, "I am too old, my time has passed." Still others blame their family, their beginnings, or the place where they live. Yet history is filled with men and women who rose above their circumstances because they refused to bow to excuses. Wealth does not ask your age, nor does it consult your circumstances. The soil of opportunity remains fertile for anyone willing to plant. A man of 60 who begins with determination may achieve more than a man of 30 who hesitates, and a youth of 20, armed with discipline, may outrun his elders who spend their time in complaint. Circumstance may shape the starting line, but it does not decide the finish. Every excuse you carry is like a stone in your pocket, harmless until you try to run. Cast them aside, and you will discover freedom and strength you never imagined. Your greatest opportunity is not behind you, nor is it waiting in some perfect condition of tomorrow. It is here, in this very moment, waiting for your decision. The door of wealth opens only to those who stop explaining why it cannot be done and begin proving how it can. The role of faith, patience, and discipline in building wealth. If wealth were built on effort alone, every hard-working man would be rich. But effort without faith is blind. Without patience, it is restless. And without discipline, it is wasted. These three virtues, faith, patience, and discipline, are the pillars upon which fortune rests. Faith is the vision that sees beyond today. It whispers, "Though the harvest is not yet visible, the seed is alive beneath the soil." Without it, discouragement quickly turns a man aside. Patience is the strength to wait without despair, to keep watering when nothing seems to grow, to keep working when results are still hidden. And discipline is the steady hand that turns good intentions into daily habits and habits into lasting wealth. Wealth is never the product of impulse. It is the quiet reward of consistent practice, guided by belief and strengthened by perseverance. The man who trusts in his work, who endures the waiting, and who governs himself with discipline will find that riches come not as a surprise, but as the rightful harvest of a well-tended life. Leaving a legacy, wealth as service to others. The ultimate test of wealth is not how much we accumulate for ourselves, but how much good it continues to do after we are gone. True wealth does not end with a man's last breath. It echoes in the lives he touched, the opportunities he created, and the values he passed down. To die rich in possessions but poor in impact is to have missed the higher calling of prosperity. Wealth, at its noblest, is service. It is the school built where children once had none. It is the hand extended to a neighbor in need. It is the wisdom recorded and shared, so the next generation may climb higher than the last. The man who understands this truth realizes that his fortune, whether great or small, is not merely for comfort, but for contribution. Money may buy temporary pleasures, but generosity plants seeds that outlive us. To leave behind land, buildings, or accounts is one thing. To leave behind courage, knowledge, and love is quite another. And while not everyone will amass riches in coin, each of us is capable of leaving a legacy of service, a kind word, an act of honesty, a life lived with integrity. These, too, are treasures, and often the most enduring. Wealth, then, finds its highest expression when it circles back to humanity. When what you gain uplifts others, you secure a legacy far greater than riches. For in the end, the truest measure of wealth is not what you had, but what you gave, and not what you earned, but what you left behind to light the path for those who follow. So, do not wait. Do not linger on the edge of your own life. Begin now, because wealth, in every form, is built by those who dare to act while others hesitate. The years will pass whether you rise to meet them or not. Let them pass in the service of your growth, your faith, and your vision. Choose today to be bold, to be disciplined, to be persistent. For the man who acts, even imperfectly, will always outdistance the one who waits. The future is not given, it is created, and it begins the moment you decide.